Добрий день.
Good afternoon. I want to thank everybody who joins us. My name is Olka Tamanova, but Ukraine Media Center Current Forum continues its operation today. Joining us online right now is Serhii Bratchuk, the head of the public council under the Odesa Regional State Administration, the spokesman of the military governor of Odesa region. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Glory to the heroes, glory to the armed forces of Ukraine. Mr. Serhii, let's start our conversation with the latest, most recent massive strike inflicted on Odesa as well. We know that Odesa region is one of those who has big issues with power supply. What's the situation as of today? Well, talking about the security component, today the air red alert signal was announced today. There is the aviation reconnaissance going on, performed by the enemy. The threat of strikes, the aviation strikes, is still big in our region. There are 11 enemy vessels in the Black Sea, which may jointly carry 20 missiles of caliber type. As to the massive strike that you've asked about just now, there were strikes on the power infrastructure facilities, and the situation is the most complicated in Odesa region out of all the regions in Ukraine, because there was a mass destruction and there were strikes of enemy missiles back on 10th of December last year, and one of such strikes, the results of such strikes were not yet mitigated so far. As to the aftermath of the missile strike, which was inflicted on the 26th of January, there was a number of power infrastructure facilities destroyed that supply electric power to Odesa and region, and it's one of the causes of limitation for power supply in Odesa and some communities in Odesa region. Talking about the format of shutdowns, we currently have non-scheduled power shutdowns. We unfortunately cannot talk about the stabilization power shutdown so far. We only have power supply for a couple of hours per day, but these are the sad realities of today. A little bit less complicated is the situation with power supply in Podilsky, Belgorod-Dnestrovsky, Izmailsky communities. They are partly, the power infrastructure facilities are partly damaged, and they still have a capability of supplying power over the communities. The teams of power technicians keep working to mitigate the aftermath of such missile strikes 24/7, but we have water supply and heat supply 24/7. Unfortunately, not all of the smaller boiler rooms may work 24/7, so those are just minor spots where heat supply is not as stable. But our power technicians say that they will try to get back to stabilization, scheduled power shutdowns, rolling power shutdowns, just in a couple of days. We cannot unfortunately talk about hours, and unfortunately we cannot make any forecasts. The situation is not on the brink of being critical, but it's still complicated. But everybody knows what to do. Everybody keeps working 24/7, and we keep maintaining, and we will keep maintaining our power infrastructure. We have alternative power sources. I'm talking about the critical infrastructure such as hospitals, maternity homes, and other facilities that I already mentioned. Mr. Serhii, I cannot help but asking about the public sentiment. We know that in Odesa region, the occupiers tried to shake the situation not in our favor. They used the massive strikes and power shutdowns for their propaganda purposes. We were witnessing it. So what is the sentiment? What is the level of understanding of the people? How do they treat such rolling power shutdowns? Well, that's a very urgent question. I want to thank the citizens of Odesa and Odesa region that they take the situation with resilience, with patience. I mean, this situation in electric power supply front is, well, we have to talk about some social services, about the education process. I want to thank again that people take it with understanding. Every day we document different information warfare acts. They try to accelerate, they try to distribute the information about mobilization, for example, around the Telegram channels which are being created by Russian Federation psychological warfare troops, and those facts are not being confirmed further on. We have constant communication with the people. Our military keep debunking the myth about the mobilization, but we understand that the situation is not comfortable for the people, but we have to understand that the rear should demonstrate the unity. It's for the sake of those who are in the front lines. Now there are relevant resolutions taken by the local governments, by the community governments, to explain the situation to the people. About the power supply, we keep talking about the work of the emergency teams who work on mitigation of the aftermath of the strikes. So I hope that in a couple of days we will be able to improve the situation. Mr. Serhii, maybe now is the time when the operation of the resilience stations is utmostly important. What is the situation with the resilience stations? Can people still recharge their gadgets to stay there, get heated, drink a cup of tea? Yes, obviously we have a number of the resilience stations deployed all around Odesa and in every community. Obviously the most popular are the ones that are deployed in the regional center. There were recently about 3,000 people who used the services of the resilience stations last week, and about 1,500 more were added during the last weekend. So we're talking about 1,000 people, say, who use it on a daily basis. There is a proper communication from the government. The governments keep explaining the situation to the people. There are generators at every resilience station, and actually every small business, they let the people recharge their phones at their small shops and other facilities along with the resilience stations. Oh, okay, Mr. Serhii, and what about the operation of the grain corridor? Do you have any news about its operation? Well, the situation with the power supply results in, first of all, the schedules of operation of Odesa ports are flexible. It's been reported by the Ministry of Infrastructure. Also, there are reports about the sabotage of the operation of the grain corridor by Russia, which retains its track on the operation of the grain deal. We're talking about the last day, for example, 18 vessels exported 660,000 tons of grain from ports of Odesa. It's 1/3 less than it was last a week prior, and it was not caused by the storms or complications in the energy front. It was all the result of sabotage by Russian Federation. There were 56,000 tons of grain sent to Bangladesh, and 60 100,000 tons of Ukrainian oil sent to India. I hope that the volumes are just about to grow, and the grain corridor will be back in full operation shortly. We have questions on the floor. Good afternoon. Olga Panasenko, Ukrinform. There were reports about the intentions of Turkish company Karpova Ship about the intention to create the floating power plant to supply electric power to Ukraine. Do you have any details about this project and its implementation? Thank you for your question. We already answered this question before the new year, when the company started disseminating this information. There are opportunities, there are plans, so we have to double check with the company. There were no negotiations on the local level. We've heard about such intentions, but these intentions, first of all, should be discussed on the level of the central government and the relevant ministries. But we know that such information was spread in the mass media, but that's all we have for today. Thank you for this information. Thank you for finding time to join our broadcast. I'm reminding you, joining us was Serhii Bratchuk, the head of the Public Council under Odesa Regional Council. Our next briefing is at 1400, and we will have the panel discussion with the topic how the Russian-Ukrainian war will change the global information landscape. So follow our announcements, trust in our armed forces, and glory to Ukraine.